When I was accepted into graduate school, I was still an undergraduate at Salisbury University, and I remember getting my acceptance letter in a Chinese restaurant on Christmas Day.
I was finishing my undergraduate degree at the University of Maryland.
I was working at a doctor's office.
I was living in Colorado working 2 jobs.
I was at Georgia Southern finishing up my bachelor's degree, and I was in my last semester.
I was at my office, but because I was a pretty new employee, I couldn't use my phone from my desk. So I used to have to go to the bathroom to send emails or check my text messages. So that's actually where I was when I found out I got accepted to UMD.
I was really nervous. I thought it was going to be a lot of work and a lot of pressure, which it was.
I felt all sorts of emotions. I was nervous, I was scared, I was excited.
I was excited to move to Maryland because I had been living in Georgia for 19 years at that point.
I was ambivalent because I had been out of school for 5 years.
I hadn't been in school since 2013, so I was excited to be back at UMD, and I had just spent the previous 2 years, hanging out in the mountains in Nepal without a lot of structure to my days, so I didn't really know how I was going to do with the new environment.
I was excited. I was ready to start this new chapter. Little did I know that my life was drastically about to change. I got my dream job and found out I was pregnant.
When I first met the cohort, I noticed that we all had unique and individual personalities, and at that point I wasn't really sure how we were all going to mesh together.
I was really nervous because there were only 6 of us, and I wanted us to all get along because I knew we were going to spend a lot of time together.
I had met Mariana first in IA training, and I thought, yee, she's quiet.
When I first met Kate, I remember thinking, wow, we are total opposites. This IA thing together is probably not going to work out, and we're probably not going to be close friends.
Right off the bat, I was super annoyed that there was another Caitlin. Once I got over that, I feel like everyone was really nice, and I was excited that our cohort was so small and that we were all women and we all had these really diverse backgrounds and experiences.
I met everyone at the luncheon, and Kate already had a drink in her hand, and all I was thinking was, she's so loud.
And then we started our first semester together, but we could have never seen what was coming.
This cohort experienced a crazy amount of loss during our 2 years at UMD.
Like an insane amount of loss.
In my first semester, I lost my stepdad.
In my first semester, I lost my dad.
My partner in crime, my biggest advocate, and my best friend.
I lost my grandma.
For the last semester, my wife and I separated, and then at the end of the semester, I lost my grandfather to COVID-19.
My family and I lost our dog of 15 years during my last semester at UMD.
I lost my stepdad to gun violence.
At that time, Kate had been driving me to the metro station after class, and so we had these times where we would have long conversations about relationships and family, and we had just had this long conversation about our families where Kate had told me about her stepfather and her parents and her relationship with both of them. By the time I got home from Maryland to DC, I got a phone call from her, and for some reason I just felt like it was bad, and she called me crying and told me what happened.
Preceding that, time didn't exist. I missed a lot of class, but I couldn't tell you how much.
I had just gotten back from visiting my dad in Michigan when I found out about Kate's stepdad. And then a couple days later, my dad took a turn for the worse, so I had to go right back to Michigan. When I went back to Michigan the second time, I did lose my dad.
When Kate's stepdad passed away and when Heather's dad passed away, I just remember feeling so sad for the remainder of the semester.
I was just thinking, what kind of test is this? I just remember texting my cohort over and over again that I was going to fail out of school in my first semester.
When I returned to school, I had no concept of time or responsibility, but the cohort, thankfully, got me through the end of the semester.
You know, at that point, we really didn't know each other that well. But sure enough, when I turned around in that funeral home, there they were.
So when Mariana messaged us about the date and the time of the viewing, we didn't really have much to think about. We all just sort of unanimously decided that we were going to go.
When someone is going through loss, pain, and suffering, we're not going to let them go through that by themselves.
But it wasn't all sad. Let's start with Mispa's pregnancy story.
Well, we had our suspicions.
One evening in our SAS lab, she wore this one flowy shirt that kind of gave it away, and I just remember looking at everyone else and being like...
So I didn't want to say anything up front because I wasn't really close with everyone. Instead, I posted my gender reveal on Instagram, and I thought Kate would have liked it or commented or something because she's so outgoing, but instead nobody said anything.
A few weeks after that lab, Mispa had posted on Instagram that she was expecting, and I screenshot it and I sent it to the whole cohort except her.
We were all at Kate's apartment before Mispa got there. And so when she came in, I was like, somebody probably should say something, but I'm not going to say something. And then Heather said something, and it was super uncomfortable.
Something came up that Mispa said, and I don't remember what it was, while she was getting ready to eat. And I looked at her and I said, well, aren't you eating for two? And the room went silent for like 30 seconds.
At Kate's house, Heather calls me out and says that, well, it looks like you're eating for two. And my face was like, what?
She was like, what?
But then I remembered like all these times that Mispa came in late to class and she was like tired and out of breath and like eating snacks, and it just like all made sense to me.
That was the first of many, many laughs to come.
Once upon a day in Epi, we were choosing groups to work in for a project.
So I wrote all of our names on a piece of paper for Dr. Dyer, and then before I could actually go up to hand it in, Kate like snatched it out of my hands.
I went to title our group BCH SqAD.
She wrote SqAD, like squad, but without the U.
So I wrote SqAD, like squad without the U.
Thus, we are SqAD.
One day before Dr. Howard's class, I went to the bathroom, and once I was done, I came back to the class. A few minutes later, I noticed Kate literally convulsing in laughter.
I had looked down and Mariana, she had toilet paper on the bottom of her shoe. And
Let's talk about biostats real quick.
Yikes.
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 We didn't even know how to formulate the questions that we had.
So I was prompted to say something about biostats, but I can't. I stopped going to class.
So yeah, I just kind of eventually gave up on that, and I would go to office hours with both of the TAs every week.
I definitely want to give a shout out to Jessica, our TA from 602. We wouldn't have been able to do it without you, so.
One time we were on break in a class and we were standing in the hallway, and Kate laughed so loud that Jessica came running out of her classroom down the hallway to yell at Kate.
So Kate almost wiped out in 620.
Kate practically fainted in 620. We were all up in the front of the classroom and presenting. And Kate starts waving her note cards and airing herself out and says, "Man, it's hot in here."
K1 tapped out, K2 tapped in.
SqAD is a team. We are each other's support system. We get coffee, smoothies, we read each other's papers, presentations, and we're really just there for each other with whatever comes up.
There's so many ways that the group has just shown up in general. I think a lot about the countless number of times that people have been willing to pick me up or drop me off or go out of their way to help me be included in something and help make my life easier over the past 2 years.
As a SqAD, it was never a competition. From the beginning, it was always, we all crossed the finish line.
Not only did they help me with work and making sure that I kept up with my assignments, but also just making sure that I was okay.
The SqAD has had my back so many times that it's when didn't they have my back?
When my stepdad died, they went out of their way to teach me biostatistics during finals week so that I could take the final on time.
And seeing the group at my sister's viewing and being able to hug them and know that they were there for me was priceless.
It wasn't, are we going to the viewing? It was, what time are we meeting there?
I've made it through COVID-19 because of SqAD helping me with my projects and also making me laugh hysterically through Jackbox.
One of my favorite things to do during quarantine is when we all get online and play Jack in the Box. I think it's the best way to spend Friday night.
It's been totally depressing not seeing these humans on a regular basis.
SqAD probably texts all day, every day in our group chat. And we've really tried to stay connected and just laugh with each other as much as we can.
The support continues. They let me practice presenting not only my capstone presentation, but also my NIAD presentation in front of them over Zoom.
Still supporting one another in school and in life is just a huge testament to what SqAD is about.
When I think of SqAD, I think of lifelong friendship and support.
When I think SqAD, I think resilience.
When I think of SqAD, I think of the best support system I could have asked for.
When I think of SqAD, I think of the sisters I never had.
When I think of SqAD, I think of the ones to always have my back and my biggest support system.
When I think of SqAD, I think family.
I wouldn't be here, ready to graduate, if it weren't for those amazing humans.
I'm so grateful that I went through this experience with all of you. I truly wouldn't have it any other way.
I definitely would not have made it through the past 2 years without SqAD. They are the best support system I could ever ask for.
I love all of you.
Thanks for making this not so great experience an amazing one.
And this is how it feels. As we go on, we remember all the times we had together. And as our lives change from whatever, we will still be friends forever.
I'm the other Caitlin, and this is where we take Health 710 when we all develop arthritis.
I'm sorry, can you explain 4A again?